She is going to a good home.
And set the parking brake.
Welcome back to another episode of Eric's Camping Adventures. Today's episode is about closing out an old chapter with that Jeep and starting some new adventures with the Subaru. Good morning. I'm going to try to organize that Subaru today for the next big trip, just see what I can come up with. And you might ask yourself, am I going to be making any mods to it? Am I going to be doing a build out in the back? And the answer to that is nothing permanent. Maybe something slide in, disposable. But no, I'm not going to do a build out in it. I want to keep it simple for a couple reasons. One, I want to use this thing for some backcountry trips. And two, I realize that the way car costs are going, that this might be my work car eventually. So you might ask yourself, why did you get rid of the Jeep? And I'm going to try to explain that to you real succinctly here. One, the cost right now of getting someone to work on something major like a transmission rebuild is pretty expensive. Two, when they put the AutoZone parts on it, man, I was really disappointed in it. I've used AutoZone for parts before. I've used them in the past, distantly. I've bought parts before from AutoZone for water pumps, starters, alternators, and I found it to be a repeat job. Even if you've got the lifetime warranty, if you got to dig in there again and do your starter on a cold winter day, or if you got to dig in there again and put in the extra effort to put on a second alternator, or you're doing your water pump again because it's leaking again and it's a cold day or it's a rainy day, you happen to remember that. And I tend to go to Napa and buy the best OEM replacement part that I possibly can, and I would never go to AutoZone for parts for any kind of transmission rebuild. I consider the transmission to be a really critical piece to make the thing go, and so that was really disappointing to me. On top of that, there were some other issues with the Jeep. The other one was the timing chain was loose and it was pinging. You could probably hear it in some of the videos, making the dieseling sound. The guy I gave it to, he texted me back, and he's running Rotella 15W40 through it as a detergent to try to clean it up, and he's going to see what happens. But I told him, I said, that timing chain is old, over 225,000 miles on it at least, and yeah, it just needs to be replaced. But I felt like I was kind of being boxed in by the number of specialty shops around here that would actually take it in and work on it, and I didn't want to do the timing chain right now. It's springtime, there are tons of storms in Oklahoma, and I want my Subaru and my wife's new Honda to be able to be parked inside the garage. I don't have space to tear it apart, find out what's wrong, order parts, and wait for them to come in and leave my vehicles outside in the hail. That's not okay. You say, well, that's kind of silly. Just take it to someone to get it worked on. Well, I don't want AutoZone parts on my Jeep. Third reason is after the last trip up to Kansas, Michelle was really disappointed in the ride. Now, a lot of that was wind, but it was much more brutal riding in that little boxy Jeep, being whipped around by the wind. It doesn't have air conditioning, so climate control is getting tougher with heat, wind. Max was dying in the back, so we had to put the windows down while we were riding in that wind. So Yeah, it just doesn't fit what we're looking for at this point. So I got a couple projects today. I'm gonna unload all this stuff, and I want to make like a cutout in the back from some old plywood from the Honda Pilot build out, and I'm gonna have some straps in it that are gonna hold it down in the cutout so that the fridge doesn't slide around and that my Bauer boxes don't slide around, at least the back one, so it doesn't come back and end up banging into this or banging into the window if it's stacked. So that's my plan for today for my build out, keeping it simple. The other thing I want to do is install a trailer light system for the Subaru. That's just a simple plug-in, but I'll show you how to do that.
The Pilot has become my son's daily driver. If you come back next time, Warren's going to be in his 4Runner, me in the Subaru, and Sam in his Pilot. We're going to go down to the Keystone Dam off-road vehicle area.
So there is a lot of space back in here in the Forester. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that build out from the Pilot, and I'm going to use that plywood from that, and I'm going to build a little platform on the bottom that I can strap some things to without messing with the Forester. Some of you have asked what's ever happened to the Pilot. Well, it's right over here. And out of necessity, it has become my son's daily driver. We already had it. We passed that on to him. Michelle got a new car. I got the Subaru. And so it's still around, and he does occasionally use it for camping. So what I'm looking at is this space right here. You can see the old Honda Pilot build out. This had been in the Jeep for a little bit. It just wasn't a good use of space. I took it back out. But you can see my tie downs on it. I'm going to reuse those, maybe reposition them, and create something that will effectively hold down equipment, mounting, braking, whatever goes on.
As I started to work on this thing, I really just considered a base replacement for the Forester to cut out some slots where I could put some straps in, and I removed all the hardware off of the plywood.
I think we got what we need in terms of square footage. Now we just got to try to cut it. That unistrut is not as cheap as you'd think, so I'm not initially going to just pitch that. Putting it at the corner will be the least cuts. Well, it looks like if I use the rough side of the plywood, I have less holes to deal with because I did some inset holes, and then I can have a rougher surface that might grip a little bit better.
I have built some complex things before, and I think that the more I do this, the simpler I want. I'm just going to cut some slots in this and put some straps in. For now, I'm just going to switch gears while I got this out of the back. I'm going to install the wiring for the trailer connection. It's very simple. You just remove the trim off the back. Underneath, I just inspected carefully. and then looked for the plug-in, and all it is a plug-in.
So while I'm in here, I've got a Curt wiring connector for a trailer, and I'm just going to pop this open, pull this out, and it is right underneath here, and it's just a plug-in, and then you have a place to ground it. So it's really pretty simple.
There's just a small ledge that holds up that deck in the back of the Subaru. I'm just going to remove that. I'm going to install this directly into that screw support, and that's going to be my ground. I did need just a little bit larger connector. This is possibly the simplest trailer connector I've ever installed before. I guess they figured with the Wilderness there was potential you were going to pull a little something.
For now, we're just going to stuff that in there, and maybe the first few times we'll try to just hang it out the back, see how pulling the trailer goes before I do any permanent mounting of the wires, like somehow through, right? I don't want to poke a hole in a grommet or anything like that right now.
I'm going to get everything stuffed back in here, and then we are going to create that deck lid replacement out of 3/8 inch plywood with some slots in it for straps. I think that will be drama free. So I'm just trying to dry fit some stuff in here. I got my Bower boxes here. Window closes, no touching. Table is here. Fridge is here. And
I'm not losing any wheel clearance just yet. So we're getting there. I just drilled, cut some slots, and I'm going to put some 6-foot straps through there. I'm keeping it really simple.
After a little further thought, I decided to go with the larger fridge out of the overlanding trailer and put the bar boxes on the other side. I decided to create some additional holes for slots to strap down the table. This might be the simplest build out that I've ever done in a vehicle, but the idea of having a flat surface with some straps on it to just anchor things down, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to work out of my Subaru or sleep in my Subaru. I just want it to transport items and then get out into the outdoors. So this is pretty simple. In just a few minutes, I'm gonna load everything up and I'm gonna get out of here and head down and test this out. Back of the Subaru organized. I'm heading down the road. I'm gonna head down to that Whitewater ORV park and just bounce around a little bit. I'm not sure it's actually open because of all the rain we had here. It looked as if it might be actually closed, maybe because they're doing a controlled release of the dam. So I'm gonna just go down, check it out. I'll go around one area, mainly just to test if this system's gonna work holding some things in. Come back next time and see how this simple idea worked.